live from the kitchenette at the Ramada Inn. I don't know. I was gonna do like the old Marv Albert at the Madison Square Garden opening to a podcast. I am not at the in the kitchenette of a Ramada Inn in Fayetteville, South Carolina. I am Dan Besbris, and this is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm joined by the hotelier himself. Is that hotelier? I might be pronouncing that wrong. Noah Rubin, host of the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Show right here on the Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Network. And, of course, you are over at the OG, the mothership, Roto World. He is at Noah Rubin 22, and I am an idiot, is how I want to start this show. I've been watching all these Noah shows, and I was just sort of like derping along, and then I was like, wait a minute. I haven't done a show with Noah. I've just been looking at your Punim for like the last 2 months on my screen, and then I realized we didn't do one together. So luckily you had a live show that I was on, and I was like, holy crap, we need to do the Noah's Dudes episode. And it all worked out that you're back at a hotel somehow, which is beyond hilarious timing. How are the furnishings at this hotel?
It's a nice hotel. I booked it just for this episode. I have to check out here in about 45 minutes, so we got to
like the commitment.
No, and I don't think you can make the Homewood Suites in Beaufort, Georgia, sound any better than that. I don't think. No matter, I mean, you can try. You feel free. I don't think you can make it sound that much better than what it is. But
live from the kitchenette at the Homewood Suites in Beaufort, Georgia. He's Noah Rubin, and you've got dudes.
I do have dudes, and that was great. That was much better than I would have done.
Can I ask you something before we do a dude?
Of course.
What hotel were you at when we did that show? Was that last year or 2 years ago, where you were like literally in a workroom of a hotel and you could see out onto the patio behind you and just like random hotel guests floating along and doing things and enjoying their day? Where do you remember where that was?
That was one in North Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So that one, because that one was one I frequented for my wife's job for a while. Now we don't have to do that anymore, which is nice. But
congrats! Oh, that tickled the crap out of me, that episode. I appreciate you sticking with the bid. I also appreciate you paying for an hourly room at this place, apparently.
Yeah.
Noah's got
somebody else has a show here in about 45 minutes.
Oh, that's good. And that's all it is. Like if you hear noises from the neighboring rooms, it's just a podcast. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they do at hourly hotels, I hear. No, where do you want to start? You got the dudes. Oh, by the way, this show is brought to you by FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook. Nice. Good job, Dan. Way to get the sponsor read in there. You can follow Noah at Noah Rubin 22. I'm at Dan Besbris. Please hit that subscribe button as we dive in. Now, I'll officially ask you where you want to start. Who's the first dude on the list?
Dan, Atlanta, and we're going to go with Jaylen Johnson here. I think he is absolutely one of my guys this season. I think it's been difficult for me to get him in a lot of mocks or a lot of drafts because I'm ready to take him in the second round. But sometimes, if I'm picking at the end of a draft, it's like somebody fits my team a little bit better. Or if I'm picking at the beginning of the draft and on the way back around the second round, somebody else has already taken it because a lot of the mocks or drafts that I'm in, everybody likes Jaylen Johnson, but he's absolutely a player that I'm willing to take a little bit higher than ADP. I think it's going to be a breakout season for him. He looks really good during the preseason. They're putting the ball in his hands. He was really, really good last season. He just wasn't healthy. And if it's like a knee issue, like a Joel Embiid, like everyone kind of knows that that's just going to be something you have to worry about. With Jaylen Johnson last year, it was 2 separate shoulder injuries. And so those are just kind of freak accidents that happen. It's not like you have lingering shoulder issues, or at least I hope that's not really a common thing the way that, knee issues or ankle issues can be. So hopefully he's healthy. And if he's on the floor, he's going to be an absolute stud. He's probably going to have the highest usage of his career, which he was starting to be used more and more over the last few seasons. I think that continues. And I think the Hawks are going to be a top 4 seed in the East this year. And it's because he's going to take another step forward. I was reluctant to say that or think that, over the last couple of months. I'm like, I don't know about Jaylen Johnson for most improved player because it's like he was already really good last year. But I really think based on, we've only seen him a little bit in the preseason, but it really seems like he's ready to take another leap forward, which I think is just going to be scary for everyone else that doesn't have Jaylen Johnson on their fantasy teams this season.
Yeah, I mean, you answered the one devil's advocate question that I had prepped for Jaylen Johnson, which is, dude hasn't been healthy so far in his career, but it doesn't sound like you're overly concerned about it. I happen to love him too, but I'm a little bit afraid, like I want to see him get through a season. Can we get that, please? Pretty please.
I mean, I hope so too. That's what I would love to see. But I think it's one of those things where maybe there is the slight nervousness in the sense that, not because I'm like worried that his shoulders are just weaker than the average shoulder or anything like that, but he is a really athletic player and does play above the rim. And those type of players always do have those little ankle injuries from time to time that can cause them to miss a few games. And that's just kind of something you have to deal with a really athletic player. Some of them are luckier than others, or just tend to play through ankle injuries, or just their body responds really well. So hopefully there's not many of those little things that cause him to miss time here and there, but I'm not really concerned that he just has really weak shoulders or something.
You don't think he just has weak shoulders? Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, I don't know exactly how to convey it, but like, you're also in a spot there, and I also don't want to spend too much time on this one dude because we have a lot of stuff to get down to. There aren't a ton of options as you float towards the end of the second round that have the kind of appeal that Jaylen Johnson does. You kind of hit a pivot point there where you have to take the guy that has, like, he could actually be a first rounder this year if things broke right. And there just aren't that many guys left at that point. But look, Noah told me, I don't know who he's going to talk about. He did say that he has as many as 13 guys for this show. So I'll keep the train moving. Noah, give me dude number 2.
Yeah, we're going to stay in the Southeast Division and talk about Jordan Poole, if that's okay with you, who, obviously everyone kind of knows the backstory of him breaking out in Golden State. That the incident with Draymond Green, had a poor season, got traded to Washington. First season in Washington was not very good. There was high expectations that, hey, he was going to score a lot of points. Didn't happen. Year 2 in Washington was better. He was more efficient. He was kind of back to being himself. And now he's in New Orleans. And the difference in the situation with Washington versus New Orleans is that I don't remember if it was just maybe it was about the final month of last season. They were kind of like, yeah, Jordan Poole, thanks for playing 11 minutes. We're going to sit you down the rest of the night. Or thanks for playing 20 minutes. Like, you're good. Thank you. That's not going to happen in New Orleans because they don't have their first round pick this year. There's no incentive for New Orleans to lose games. Now, does that mean that they're going to make sure that Jordan Poole is playing 40 minutes a night in April if they're nowhere near the playoff picture? Like, no, they're going to favor Jeremiah Fears, who they just drafted, but there's no reason for them to pull the plug on their season until they're basically eliminated. They're going to just try and win basketball games. And I think that Jordan Poole, with DeJounte Murray still hurt, is going to have to be a big part of that. He's going to have one of the best seasons of his career. We know he's going to get threes. I wouldn't be shocked if he was, and I'm not saying, by a drastic leap, but able to average a career high in assists, but that would only be around 5 per game, because I believe his career high is 4.5. But points, threes, assists, I think there's a lot to like here from Jordan Poole in this first season with the Pelicans.
Are you at all concerned that last year he had, I think it was a career high in usage, that probably comes down a little bit this season?
It can come down to touch, and he can just be more efficient because he does have more talent on this team. I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is if this team is healthy, which doesn't tend to happen in New Orleans, but if this team is healthy, it's a more talented roster. He gets better looks, easier looks. He's playing alongside Zion. He's playing alongside Trey Murphy. He has Herb Jones there. And I'm not super high on the Pelicans this year, but in the scenario where they're a healthy team, then Jordan Poole probably has easier looks than he saw absolutely in his 2 seasons in Washington. But also, like, is anyone banking on Zion playing 70 games? Trey Murphy is not consistently healthy. So it might just be that Jordan Poole is forced to have the highest usage of his career once again. So I think there's multiple pathways for the season to go in New Orleans. And obviously the caveat for every single player in the NBA is, unless they get hurt, then he's going to be on the floor being productive.
Yeah, I don't see him as a guy who's hurt all too often. Whatever games he missed seemed like it was by team design as opposed to whatever was going on with himself. And he's been largely a healthy guy. So that would definitely not be, that's not even really on my radar with Jordan. If it happens, it happens, but that's not a thing that you're banking on with him. It really comes down to a little bit of fit and how that all kind of comes together. By the way, FanDuel's got the New Orleans Pelicans regular season win total at 31.5. I think they're going to be kind of bad this year, personally. But we'll see. I mean, if Zion stays healthy, they got a shot to beat anyone on any given night because he's an insane force, and we just never really get to see it for an extended stretch. Also, check out our friends over at fantrax.com/oldmansquad. That link is in the show description. If you want to learn how to play fantasy sports, you're doing it the first time, that's a great place to check out all the different commissioner tools. And if you're an expert, it's even better because of all of those tools. Just get used to the UI. It's the best place to play. It's where we're hosting all of our industry leagues. There's a reason that's where we host them. You can even host a league there and not be in it, which is kind of fun. If you just want to watch other people fight each other, like throw them a piece of meat and see who comes up with it. That's over at fantrax.com/oldmansquad. Noah's Dudes is the episode today. We're talking to Noah Rubin of Roto World and the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast, who is dude number 3.
Yeah, this is going to be a player that there's an obvious big freaking question mark around, but Brandon Ingram. I really like Brandon Ingram this season, and I know the question mark is, can he stay healthy? Obviously. There's a real chance that injury bug carries over from New Orleans to Toronto for Brandon Ingram. But if we're looking at when he's been at his best is when he's hitting threes and shooting a lot of threes. His 2 best fantasy seasons came during his first 2 seasons in New Orleans. He was hitting over 2 3-pointers per game, and then was kind of like, you know what? That mid-range shot, I like that a lot more. And that's when he just saw that rate increase and his 3-point rate dropped. So if we're looking at per possession, and this is where I'm going to nerd out here for a second, Dan, if you don't mind.
Nerd away. I'm wearing glasses. I'm ready.
Perfect. He was over 6 3-pointers per 75 possessions during his first 2 seasons in New Orleans. Then the next 3 seasons, or I guess outside of this last season, he was at 4.5, 3.9, and 4.3. Last season, he only played 18 games. It was up to 7.2 3-pointers per game. So he was back to shooting more threes. Now he heads to Toronto, where their starting lineup's probably going to be Emmanuel Quickley, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl. Outside of Emmanuel Quickley, Brandon Ingram kind of has to shoot threes if this thing is going to work, or else there's just going to be no spacing. Now, if we look at his first 3 preseason games, he's hit 2.7 threes per game, and that's small sample size, preseason basketball. Like, don't put too much stock in it. But I think he's going to kind of be forced to shoot more threes. He can't sit there and live on the mid-range because RJ Barrett's going to try and do that. And Scotty Barnes is not a great shooter, and Jakob Poeltl is straight up a non-shooter. So for this team to kind of work with this lineup, somebody's got to shoot threes. I think that is going to be Emmanuel Quickley and Brandon Ingram, and it's going to allow Brandon Ingram, assuming health, to be able to get back to borderline, if not inside the top 50 production in 9-cat leagues, and potentially be an all-star in the East, which with all the injuries and everything, and it's the East, maybe isn't saying all that much.
So I'm in a weird place on Brandon Ingram, and maybe you can talk me through this. I can't think of a guy, and I'll scroll down for those that are watching on YouTube. By the way, everybody should be subscribing and liking at this point of the podcast, where a player that's been around as long as he has, and where it feels like he's been incredibly consistent, but when you look into the numbers a little more, he's actually been weirdly inconsistent in 3 or 4 specific spots. And as someone who has heart palpitations, from standing up and walking around in the morning, I struggle with guys where there is a lack of predictability. Like his field goal percent, while it feels like it's been very consistent, it seems like it bounces back and forth 2 to 3 percentage points annually. His free throw number, very consistently in the 80s, but you don't really know if you're getting 80 or 88 or something in between. And turnovers too has been weirdly inconsistent, and steals have been super inconsistent. I struggle with the guys that have that 15 to 20% wiggle. The good news is on Ingram, they tend to cancel each other out. Like the steal goes up and the field goal percent goes down. And at the end of the year, it's the rank is about the same. But then last year he was awful in turnovers in his 18 games, if you care about that category, or maybe you're playing 8-cat. How do you balance that? Is it one of those things where you can just be like, yeah, I mean, some go up and some go down, but they rarely all go up and down together?
Honestly, I think I just kind of blame, I'll say 85% of that on lack of continuity in New Orleans, because his role is changing every season, whether or not he's healthy or Zion's healthy or whoever else been there. CJ McCollum's been healthy. I mean, he was in New Orleans for 5 seasons. So there's just not a lot of continuity, not a lot of health. So I think that's kind of changed his role throughout his time there. Obviously, he is a high-level scorer, but he's also a good playmaker from the wing. I'm hoping, and this is just kind of, hoping, not thinking, that if there is health in Toronto, and that if this team is healthier than they were last season, because I feel like it's not the consistent thing in Toronto, that it just like everyone says, like Dyson Daniels has that quote, that place is cursed, New Orleans is cursed. And like, sure, we're not going to base our fantasy predictions on curses, but there's a lot of data to back it. No,
yeah.
But if Toronto has this health, has this continuity in their lineup, that gives Brandon Ingram more of a defined role. Hopefully, helps his percentages get back up to around the best they've been. Helps limit the turnovers. I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a good bit, but there's other players there that will also be handling the ball. So it's hard to maybe predict some of those exact stats, but also, the turnovers were at 3.8 per game last year, but it was 18 games. It was a small sample size. And
right.
I think it's one of those things where maybe if he did play more games, that would have improved, or if he played more games with specific players out there as well, because that injury bug hit New Orleans early and often last season.
I have to admit, I'm too afraid of the health with Ingram. That's the one that one's, but he might be healthy. He was healthy-ish during the COVID years. Of all the times to actually mostly make it through a season, those were the ones where Ingram mostly made it. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to this nonsense. But New Orleans is cursed. It's true. You can't blame a curse, but also you can pretty much blame a curse, because no one can ever stay healthy down there, and it ain't all the beignets. Dude number 4. Let's keep chugging. I have a tendency to let the train get off. The subway's running late. Noah, where are we headed, man?
Let's go to Detroit. And this is probably my favorite pick of this year. And I am able to get him in most of my drafts because I'm happy to take him a good bit earlier than everyone else. And that's Ausar Thompson. I remember I took him I think it was in the mock that you hosted, I took him at 55, and there was comments
55.
Like, that's way too early. And I feel pretty confident and comfortable taking him around that pick 60 range. I think he's in for a breakout season. He's a starter in Detroit now. Last season, they brought him along slowly after he had I believe it was the blood clot thing that had him start last season out, and then was kind of brought along slowly with the minutes, missing some games here and there. Finally became a full-time starter late in the season. And I think his defense is too important to this team for him to not be starting and playing a ton of minutes. They also have been looking to get him more playmaking opportunities in the preseason when Cade Cunningham's out on the floor, so kind of take advantage of his athleticism and that ability for him to be a playmaker, which is good to see because it allows him to potentially see some assist numbers go up. And if you look at per possession defensive stats, or actually just per possession stats in general, it's pretty similar, him and Amen Thompson last season. And it's just all about, or a lot of it's about opportunity. I'm not saying he is Amen Thompson, but Amen Thompson's a guy that there's conversations of him
literally as close as you can get to being Amen Thompson.
Well, yes, nobody else is
genetically as close as you can get.
That's very fair. And I don't think he's as good as Amen Thompson, but I think that at this time next season, we could be talking about him as like a 3rd round player. And I think it's going to be because of what he does this year.
Did you see the news that broke 8 minutes ago?
Well, no, Dan, I was talking to you. What happened?
I'll put it up on our screen here on the YouTubes. Now you got to flip over to this tab. Shams Charania tweets, Pistons guard Jaden Ivey underwent an arthroscopic procedure to relieve right knee discomfort and will be reevaluated in 4 weeks. The pathway in Detroit widens.
Indeed. That's even because that was honestly one of the caveats I was going to say was they're getting him more playmaking opportunities, but Jaden Ivey's still there when Cade's not on the floor. But
not anymore.
No, it's the door. Yeah, the runway is open for Ausar Thompson to play an even larger role. Yeah, I can't be more in on Ausar Thompson.
I can't believe that my dude Tobias Harris now is going to probably be a top 100 guy again because of this. Hilarious in its boredom. Nothing is more of like the fantasy basketball Ambien than Tobias Harris. But that's not who we're talking about right now. We're talking about Ausar Thompson, who, again, if everybody wants to, like, you can look down the stretch when he really started to get a little bit more playing time. I'll put that up on the screen now. I lost it. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. I know what I'm doing. It may not look it. There we go. Final 10 games last year. There's Ausar Thompson's numbers in Detroit. 29 minutes a game. He was top 60. So, ta-da. That was with Ivy out because he was hurt then too. And Tobias Harris missed a couple of ball games in there. But they also had Tim Hardaway Jr. and they still had the ghost of Malik Beasley at that point. So there is a lot of space. Ausar Thompson going in the 70s, I think, in most drafts right now. Yeah?
Yeah, I think his ADP still says in the 80s on Yahoo, but obviously that's just more of a compilation of data and not the most recent thing. But yeah, I mean, if he's going in the 70s, I think if you get him at ADP, that's incredible value. I'm happy to take him around even potentially 2 earlier. And yeah, I just like I said, I can't be more in.
He is all the way in. We're talking to Noah Rubin. Noah Rubin, finally, on this episode of Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Let's do dude number 5. Let's see what we can. Let's do 5, maybe 6, and then I might have you lightning round the rest. We'll see how the timing goes.
Okay, then we'll do Andrew Nembhard. Who's
I just got him in a mock. I'm happy to hear that.
Where'd you get him in that mock, Dan?
Hold on a minute. I emailed the results to myself. I got him at the very end of the 6th round. So it's like right around pick 70, I think.
Yeah, that's about where I've been happy to take him in mocks. 8 games last season without Tyrese Halliburton. He only played 26.6 minutes per game in those, but 11.3 points, 6.6 assists, 1.1 steals, and 1 3. But we got to kind of look at what that was last season. That was him when Tyrese Halliburton was out. He was kind of like the understudy that was now taking over for the main actor, the lead of the play. Now they know they're not going to have the star of their show. So they're going through all of rehearsals saying, hey, let's kind of alter things a little bit to the strength of Andrew Nembhard, because he is going to be our point guard last season. He's starred in the last 2 playoffs. This is our best chance to get back to the playoffs, even without Tyrese Halliburton or Miles Turner. His assist rate has always been strong when Tyrese Halliburton isn't out there. It's just he hasn't always played the heavy point guard minutes. I don't see how they're not able to play him at least 30 minutes per game, probably more, like closer to 32, 34. He could average like 7 or 8 assists per game, which I think if we're looking at the injuries to Tyrese Halliburton, DeJounte Murray, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, et cetera, there's a lot of really strong assist guys that are not going to be available for most of, if not all of the season. So assists just become a little bit more valuable because they're harder to find. He'll still give you a steal, a 3. The field goal percentage isn't great, but I'm expecting a ton of career highs this season for Andrew Nembhard, which I think is what a lot of people are expecting. This isn't some like revolutionary idea, but I think when you just kind of put it into perspective that, oh, he was really good when Halliburton was out last year, but this isn't just going to be him filling in and trying to make do. It's going to be tailored to him having the ball. It changes things.
Do we think, because we've seen kind of 2 different Nembhards between regular season and postseason. Postseason Andrew is jacking up 3-pointers. Regular season Andrew didn't. Do we get more 3s out of him this year, or should you just draft him and not worry about the fact that he's not a big 3-point guy?
I wouldn't. It's hard to say because, like, I'm not Rick Carlisle. Like, Rick Carlisle would probably be able to answer that question a lot better than I.
Nobody knows what's going on in that head.
But I would think that they would have to rely on him for more 3s, like they have had him do in the playoffs, because you don't have Tyrese Halliburton to fall back on this year. So you got to get the best out of him. So if he's able to get those 3s up and he's providing more of them than just like 1 per game, I think he's going to get every opportunity to. So I would expect him to average a career high in 3s, which it's right around 1. It may be under 1 3 per game is actually his career high. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I've looked at these numbers enough that, anyways, I'm expecting a career high for 3s from him, which may not be 2.5 or 3 per game.
Yeah, it looks like his rookie season he was at 1.2, so that was the big one. This last year he was at 0.8, so he has cleared 1 though. Whatever that's worth. Yeah, he wasn't a guy I was like hyper targeting coming into the draft season, because there are those. The 3-pointer was kind of a hole in his game, and he's not a great foul shooter, and the field goal percent has bounced around a little bit. But I've softened on him. TJ McConnell's out. That doesn't really hurt his case either. And I just took him in a mock where I think I was debating between, I forget who it was Nembhard and someone else right at that juncture, or maybe everybody else I was looking. Oh, I think I had it down to Nembhard or OG Anunoby, and I was like, I feel pretty good about both of these guys at pick 70. And this particular mock, I needed a point guard because I had like 3 wings already, so that was why I went that direction. But like, I think he's a perfectly reasonable guy there. And what if he's also a what if it lands kind of guy? What if he gets to 1.5 3-point? I know that's not a big number, like you said, but what if he's an over 80% foul shooter this year? What if he shoots 47, 48% instead of 46? I mean, we know he's going to get good steals numbers. He always has been. And now he's going to play a career high in minutes, most likely. So he's a guy that we're all looking at all these guys that are gonna score more as the big breakout. I like the idea of Nembhard as like kind of the maybe slightly lower scoring but more efficient, sneaky 9-cat breakout kind of guy, as opposed to the 2-cat breakout kind of guys. But anyway, let's get to number 6. I'll keeping the trains on time or on time ish. Where to?
Yeah, let's. Have we even talked about a Western Conference player? Maybe we've talked about one, but Donovan Clingan, because it was
Jordan Poole was Western.
New Orleans is in the West. That's right.
For some reason,
right? Donovan Clingan, 37 games as a starter last season.
Donovan.
Only 24.5 minutes per game in those starts, but averaged 7.9 points, 10 rebounds, 2.1 blocks. He's a pretty good passer for a big as well. He didn't have a ton of assists in those games, but I think he is a guy that they can rely on as a pretty good passer, which means they have 2 center options that can pass the ball. So there's a better chance of them kind of tailoring their offense to potentially run through the center at times as a playmaking hub between him and Young Hansen. I don't necessarily think that Clingan's the guy that they're going to give 34 minutes per game to, but he is a guy that in 28 minutes per game can average a double-double with 2.5 blocks, give you a sky-high field goal percentage. Just a lot of traditional center stuff with potential for an assist boost there. I think he did hit a 3, if I'm remembering correctly, not mixing him up with somebody else, has been willing to shoot in the preseason. So not expecting him to average a 3 per game, but that opens up a little bit more for the offense, makes him a little bit more dynamic. I think there's a lot to like from Donovan Clingan long-term, and I think it kind of starts this season, but it's probably only going to be a taste of what we're going to end up getting in like 2 or 3 years. I think this guy's going to be a fantasy stud.
Yeah, I have no devil's advocating to play on this one. Donovan Clingan is one of my favorite dudes on the board. I'm flashing on the screen again if you're watching instead of listening. These are his numbers from his final 10 games last year. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, like you were talking about, better number there. A steal, almost 2 blocks. He didn't even shoot the ball all that well because I think he's been pretty open about when he played 27, 28 minutes, he was gassed. And so like he wasn't getting anything on little hook shots and whatever. And like the dudes in the NBA, I don't care if you are a mountain on top of feet, which is basically what Clingan and Zach Edey are these days. Someone can come block you. Like, I don't care how big you are. If you have no wind in the tank to like get yourself to the rim, a conditioned Donovan Clingan this year, like this is 60 range. I like he could go higher than that in my opinion. I love Donovan Clingan. He's probably my favorite 8th. I think he's going in the early 8th round in a lot of drafts these days. I'm 100% with you on that one. I have nothing but good things to add to it. As we approach the half-hour mark, I have 2 questions to ask you, Noah. The first one is, where can everybody find your work? What do you got going on at Roto World? What do you got going on in the pod universe? You're a busy man these days.
Trying to stay busy, Dan. You can follow me at Noah Rubin 22 on the socials. I think I do a pretty good job of posting everything I do. At least I try to. Sometimes I'm just like, you know what? People just got to find that one. I don't have time to. But obviously the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast, you can find it here on YouTube or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Roto World this season, Raphael Johnson and I will be hosting live Q&As on Tuesdays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Those will be live on YouTube and on Twitter. So it'll be right there on the Roto World Hoops account, which we just did the mock draft live the other night. And it was really cool to have that on Twitter because I think a lot more people were able to see it. And then I have also be doing some like shorter little videos that'll be on the NBC Sports site, and I'll tweet those out as well. And then obviously blurbs, columns, stuff all season long.
That's rad, man. Do you ever stop and think like, I'm at NBC Roto World? That's amazing.
Dan, it's the coolest thing.
It's the coolest freaking thing.
I need it. Like I try sometimes to put it into perspective because like my name on the NBC Sports site when I was getting my journalism degree or like writing about local high school sports, it's like
no way. Yeah, really you're cool like jump. No way. And yet,
really cool jump.
Anyway, I personally, I'll speak to, instead of the royal we. I am very fortunate that you are doing stuff with Old Man Squad as well. Young Man Squad show is outstanding. Your guests are outstanding. Your content is amazing. So we are very lucky here to have you as well.
Thank you.
Roto World, man, that's so freaking cool. My other question for you is, what is your lightning round list? I'm probably not going to be fast enough to get their pictures up on the screen, but we're at the half-hour mark, and I promised I would do this in about a half hour, and I think you still have like 7 names left, so oopsies. We're not going to do another 40 minutes. Is it? Oh, okay. Two-parter. The other 7 names, are these the ones that are less your guy, or are all 13 of these like, these are my dudes? I just wanted to talk about the first 6 because I thought we'd have more to talk about.
I think all but one of these guys will be going outside the top 100. And I think that's probably why I was like, I'll save them for the end and just kind of toss them out there. It's some of my favorite late round flyers. So if you've been in drafts
flyer, sleeper, that kind of thing, I like it.
You see me get a lot of these guys, but one of them is still going inside the top 100. And if you're listening to this on 2 times speed or 1.5 time, you might want to tone it down because I'm going to try and go
like what I did on the Matt Lawson show earlier this week, where he covered like a half of the league on preseason notes, and I was like, dude, no one's ever said that much in 35 minutes before.
He's a different beast.
Beast, man.
Yeah. So first one, Darius, Garland, and I know, Dan, you're pretty much out on anybody that's hurt at this point, which is fair. I think that the timeline that I had seen was that he's going to be back in November. So he's going to miss a little bit of time, but probably not a ton, maybe a couple of weeks. He's going in like the 6th round. I think he's a top 50 basketball player when he's healthy. Like in fantasy, he's absolutely. And he dealt with toe injury last year. He was so really productive throughout the season. I don't think I'd let him fall that much further. I'd be fine to just take him, wait a few weeks, sit him in an IL spot. I think that it is still kind of recovering from the injury that he was managing during last season. So it's really important for them to manage that, but I don't expect them to rush him back. They don't need to rush him back. The next player I've got here is Tari Eason. I think he's got way too much upside to be going in the 10th round, even if he's just a part-time starter that sits back-to-backs. That's like 15-ish games. I don't remember exactly how many they have, but should be starting a good bit of the time. But even when he's coming off the bench, still playing a significant role. Ton of steals, ton of blocks, bare minimum, but upside to do way more. I don't think the Kevin Durant being there takes away too much from him. Next one, I know you mentioned him just a second ago when talking about Donovan Clingan, but Zach Edey, another guy that I'm okay waiting to get healthy. I'll stick him in an IL spot. They literally fired their coach last year because Ja Morant was frustrated. And that's not probably the only reason, but I know it was a fact. I was not told that, anyways, Ja Morant was frustrated because the offense wasn't what he thought it was going to be. He thought there was going to be a lot of pick and rolls with him and Zach Edey. That's why they take the 7'4" guy in the top 10, despite him being 22 years old. And even if Ja Morant isn't healthy, Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. are still there and can feed Zach Edey the ball where he can just take it and place it in the rim because he is really, really big.
He's so big.
I'm not super high on Zach Edey long-term, like in Dynasty. There's other people that are way higher on him than I am, but I think for this season specifically, there's going to be an emphasis to use him a lot and get him a lot of production, a lot of points, rebounds, blocks, high field goal percentage. Down in Miami, Nikola Jovic has been starting in the preseason over Khalil Ware. He's going almost 50 spots after Ware. I think he's got breakout potential, well-rounded production. He can do a lot of different things. He's a guy that I'm absolutely loving to take in the last few rounds of drafts. These last 3 guys I have here, Dan, they play defense and their teams need somebody to play defense. The first one being Taylor Hendricks. Somebody has to play defense on that team, on the perimeter, because Walker Kessler's there down low. Taylor Hendricks has been starting in the preseason, started last season for his 3 games before he got hurt. The offense has been shaky, but there is still upside for him to improve in that area and be more productive. But even if it is still kind of shaky, he's good enough defensively and important enough defensively that he's going to play a lot and get defensive stats. Absolutely love taking him in the last few rounds. This next one, I'm a little lower on than I was probably, we'll say it this time 2 days ago, because Keon Ellis now has Russell Westbrook in front of him as well. But somebody in Sacramento has to play defense.
You think that, don't you?
Unless that's the whole plan.
If there's ever a team that's just like, I don't know.
That's, if all logic and reason goes out the window, which I don't want to put that past them, but if all logic and reason goes out the window,
that was like the
maybe
tagline for the Kings
maybe
roster.
Keon Ellis can stay off the floor, but I think he's way too important with his defense. They're going to have to get him minutes if they're going to compete. And I don't think you sign Russell Westbrook unless you at least want to be competitive, because I don't really see another reason to. Or there's a scenario where they trade him. They just signed Russell Westbrook. They don't have depth behind Keegan Murray. Do they trade Keon Ellis or Malik Monk to open up minutes? We can probably do a whole nother episode just questioning the Kings' decisions, but I still am fine to take a late round flyer on a guy like Keon Ellis. And then one last guy, Ryan Dunn, has been starting for the Suns during the preseason, and he is a really good defensive player. His block rate in college was insane. He was good at getting steals, and he actually can shoot way better than we thought after 2 seasons at Virginia, where it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is one of the worst shooters ever, but one of the best defensive prospects ever. Came into the league and started hitting threes. Now, he's not a great shooter, but he can give you some threes, and he can give you defensive production, and he's starting, and sometimes he doesn't get drafted. And I just don't get that. So Ryan Dunn is absolutely, and sometimes I'm taking all these other guys and I don't even get to Ryan Dunn. So I guess I get it, but I don't get it. He should be drafted in the last few rounds of your draft.
Sacramento, when logic and reason go out the window. I feel like you really did a nice.
We gotta get some shirts.
Yeah, you did a really nice tagline for the Kings roster construction right now. Where you're like, you're gonna do. Wait, I thought you just wanted Dennis Schroeder to run this team. You got Russell West. Okay, well, and that means that. Now, wait a minute, that doesn't fit. And then Keegan Murray got hurt, which is like, that one killed me because Keegan was one of my main draft targets. I was like, this.
And so who they're going to fill at that spot?
Russell Westbrook.
They're going to start Darius Saric, because that's going to fix everything.
Oh, right, and then Sabonis has like a sore hammy right now or something too, right?
Yeah, he left early last night.
Oh, you know what? I'm not as worried about that one. Like, you're going to be cautious in the preseason. We'll see how he's doing early next week before I start panicking on that one. Noah, thank you for 13 names. He is Noah Rubin, 22. He is the pride of Roto World, and I love it, my baby. You're here, or the old man squad. He is once again not in the workroom of a Ramada Inn in Fayetteville. He is in the built-in kitchen area of an actual full-size hotel room at the Homewood Suites in Georgia. I forget which city you said, though.
Buford, but your Georgia singing voice was much better.
Thank you. Yeah. This is the only day of the week where I actually have a voice, because we're recording on Thursday afternoon. Later today is my younger son's Little League practice, where I am the manager of a team of 5-year-olds. Voice is just gone at the end of that one. Yeah. Tomorrow, I have my older son's practice, where the kids listen, but the field is much bigger, so you still have to yell really loud. They hear you, but you have to yell farther. And then Sunday, their games are back-to-back, and that takes me 2 days to recover. So like Wednesday and Thursday, I have my voice every week. So you guys all got treated to a really bad Ray Charles. Noah Rubin, you the man. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so sorry that I forgot we hadn't actually done the show together and just 2 side-by-side shows on the same network for the last half year. My deepest, humblest apologies to you, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Dan, it was destiny for it to be pushed back until I was in a hotel room. So it's worked out really well. Thank you so much, as always, for having me on and hosting the show, promoting everything. You do a phenomenal job. I know that everyone that listens to that thinks so as well. So thank you, Dan.
You are most welcome. Noah, I'll talk to you soon. I love that dude. Noah Rubin. It is so cool, man. That guy, Roto World. That's what we all grew up with, I think. I don't know. I guess I'm older than some now. As evidenced by me growing out this playoff beard and it being much grayer than it was the last time I tried to do this thing. I'm just going to flatten this down so you YouTubers think the sides of my face at least haven't gone completely gray. Friends, I told you about FanDuel. We talked about the Pelicans, I think, on FanDuel. I told you about Fantrax. What I haven't told you about is the Old Man Squad Patreon. It's something I've set up largely for myself, As I've said before, when I started this network, my wife and I talked and we were like, Dan, me, her, whatever, I can do 3 easily full seasons of everything I do 100% free. And the thought process was, if the podcast revenue, advertising dollars, and a Patreon, which I hadn't opened at the time, combine to pay for childcare for my children so that I can do these things, then I could do it that way forever. And I opened a $1 Patreon a couple of weeks ago because I was like, what's the lowest number they'd let me do? Because I'd rather have more people do very, very tiny micro size amounts that no one will ever even really think about, but all together will get me to a place where I can pay nannies and pay school functions and donations or whatever, and then we're net zero. So if you have a moment, please check the show description. The Patreon link is in there. It's Patreon Old Man Squad. Also in the show description, the Google Sheet where I keep all of my information. Next year, I'm going to do a better job of writing down in the Google Sheet all the guys that my guests have mentioned over these last couple of weeks, because they're all amazing. But I forgot to record those this time. But it's got my rankings, my buckets, the schedule grid. It's got the ADP information. It's got pre-rank information. It's got the burger board, all that stuff completely free in the Google Sheet. Also in the show description. Please, that's what I ask of you. Just look at the show description. It's got a bunch of links, and they're all going to be helpful for you. That's it. Please subscribe on your way out. Thanks again to Noah Rubin. I am Dan Besbris on Twitter. Spell my name. You can find me DanBesBris, or just Google fantasy basketball Dan Besbris and it'll pop up, I reckon. That's it. Thanks for watching. That's the last My Dudes episode of this run up. That's so sad. But honestly, Noah in a hotel was probably the way to close it out. He's got to get out of his sex den. Kidding. Joke. He just said he had to get out of there in 45 minutes, and I immediately thought, like, oh, a bone motel. He's in a real hotel. Noah had to go for legitimate, actual, real-life reasons. I got to go because you guys don't want to watch any more of this show. See you guys soon.